Hello, everyone, and welcome to our campaign stream. My name is Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois, and sorry for starting 7 minutes late today. I was just at the Climate Pod live recording, and we were having a lot of fun, and then realized I was leaving 10 minutes late. 20 minutes late and just got back. So thank you so much for waiting. A few campaign updates right now. So for those of you who don't know, we do these, huh? What'd you say?
I said, have a slide about that.
Okay. For those who don't know, this is producer Asha over here. She's wonderful. Thank you, producer Asha. We're doing these live streams as a way to change how campaign fundraising is done, because campaign fundraising is largely done in back rooms, calling rich people all day, every day, and everyone involved hates doing it. People who get the calls, the people who are doing the calls. And if you ask, why are we doing this? The answer will be, well, it's what you have to do. And we don't like to think that way. So we've been doing these live streams. We finished our 4-week trial last week. So we are officially doing our campaign streams now. Our first guest will be coming on in a second, but a few campaign updates. And if you want to support this type of communication and support a grassroots candidate that's not taking any billionaire money, any corporate PAC money, or any Republican funded PAC money, you can donate at catforillinois.com/stream. You'll hear a holy cow sound and we'll be able to shout you out. So a few campaign updates that we've got going on. This past week, we had our canvassing launch. We did another launch the week before, but it was really rainy and gross. So we had over 30 people come up to the office this Saturday to start practicing door knocking, which was really exciting. We've also been doing our phone banking launch. You can find more information at catforillinois.com/events. We also brought on Abby as one of our campus fellows, which is really exciting. Abby, if you're watching this, say hi in the chat. We love you. And most excitingly, we have an end to petitioning. So that means that we have collected all the signatures we need to get on the ballot. Right now, our field director, Andre, is in Springfield, ready to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to go submit those and get us on the ballot. Thank you to everyone who helped out. We were able to actually stop our active petitioning efforts 2 weeks early because of how many signatures we got, because of how many volunteers were involved. We got 4 times the threshold that we needed. So thank you so much to everyone who is involved. Seriously, this is unbelievable and we couldn't do it without you. Oh, and also we released our first ad. Meredith, have you seen it yet?
I have.
Okay.
Obviously.
Sorry, Meredith's off screen. You'll see her in a sec. But we launched our first ad, and you might remember at the beginning of this campaign, I wasn't sure how I felt about doing ads because we're doing things differently, and the same old spending money on ads that don't work. What didn't appeal to me? We decided we want to reach as many people as we can, but we want to make sure that even with our ads, we are doing something different and we are communicating effectively and for things that matter. So our first campaign ad was about ICE. We'll probably watch it sometime during the stream, but it's our first attack ad, and it is an attack ad. We're attacking ICE, we're attacking Trump, we're attacking Kristi Noem. So you can find that on all of our socials. Take a look, and if you want to see more ads like this, we have others that are up the pipeline. Consider chipping in at catforillinois.com/stream so we can reach every person in this district. A few things to keep up with. So phone banking 101 has been going on. We're doing Zoom calls, I believe, twice a week, Asha?
Yes.
Twice a week. You can phone bank for us from anywhere in the country. So if you want to join our phone banking efforts, join our Discord too at discord.gg/catforillinois. And if you are in the area, door knock for us. And you can also find out more information at discord.gg/catforillinois or catforillinois.com/events. We want to reach as many people, whether that be through ads, door knocking, phone banking, events, whatever it may be. We just don't want to leave anyone behind, and we need your help. And it's not just door knocking and phone banking. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities where you don't even need to talk to people. If you have ideas or skills that you wanted to see implemented on a campaign, tell us about them. We want to get creative, and we have had a lot of really creative volunteers, from 3D printing whistles so that way people can patrol against ICE, to creating art in our office. We really love all of our volunteers. We have people doing data entry. We really want to get creative. We want to make sure we are using people's skills and where they think they can make the most impact. Additionally, we have park cleanup scheduled. We had another one, I believe, yesterday, led by Ovi. You can sign up for our park cleanups at catforillinois.com/events. The best way to get rapid response updates on the campaign is joining our Discord, discord.gg/catforillinois. But we do have another event this week that I'm very excited about. We are doing our Halloween blood drive this Friday, Halloween, in the back lot of our campaign office at 7016 North Clark Street. If you want to give blood, you need to sign up on the sign-up sheet at catforillinois.com/events because you need to pick a specific time slot. But we'll also have the bone marrow registry, and anyone can sign up for that. You don't have to sign up ahead of time. We're going to be cooking Chicago dogs. We're going to have a costume contest. We'll have music. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure to be at 7016 North Clark Street, the back lot. Donate some blood, help the community, have a hot dog. Now, it's time to bring on our guest. Meredith, would you like to roll on in here?
I'm gonna slide on over. Hello.
I think you got it. There you are.
We just met and now we're here.
We just met and now we're here.
Yep.
I mean, we've met online.
Yes, that's true.
On
that
the
counts.
internet. Yeah, that's real life a lot of times now.
I guess.
Meredith, tell the people about yourself, especially a piece that seemed to resonate with a lot of people.
Well, I'm really honored to be here today because within a week of Donald Trump taking office, I felt really infuriated and really frustrated. And I think whereas in November, I felt a lot of fear about what might happen when we had a President Trump, because I knew, right? If you had paid attention in the first 4 years of his first presidency, you sort of knew where this was going, but it seemed like Democrats in Congress didn't. And so as you watched the entire first week unfurl, when you watched everyone attending inauguration, when you watched the Bidens welcome this family in open arms to the White House like everything was normal and okay, that felt deeply distressing to me. And I think one of the things that I really focused in on was Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois. And as I thought about what it meant to be a Democrat, both from Illinois and also nationwide and in congressional leadership, a lot of the things that he was doing and saying, it felt deeply, deeply frustrating to me because, you know, in the first week of the presidency, he was telling Capitol Hill reporters, well, we need more time to figure this out. This is also new, when all of it was incredibly old and incredibly tried and true. And pretending things were normal brought us Trump again. Yeah. And now that we're here, pretending things are normal, especially from congressional leaders in Washington, it's not really making headway where we needed to be making headway. Because as I hear you talking about all your events and getting people organized and ice whistles, when we look around the neighborhoods of Chicago, we see people who are getting the stakes and the seriousness of what we're living through now. And it feels like that hasn't broken through with Washington. So in the first few weeks of this presidency, I basically published a story. It was the clearest headline I've ever written. You know, usually when you're a reporter and essayist, you're like, oh, my editor writes my headlines. This one I wrote, and it was just primary every Democrat. And I think that there were a lot of people online who were a little bit, I don't know how do I put this, butthurt about that idea. That, oh, like, why are you attacking Democrats when we should be attacking Republicans? But I think when I think about what's happening right now, I think about all the systems problems we have. And the current Democratic Party, current Democratic leadership are part of a massive systems problem. A national media that's oriented towards a status quo, that is a systems problem. And so the idea of primary every Democrat wasn't that we should replace everyone in office. It's that everyone should have to be challenged. It's that we should use every mechanism we still have, at least for now in our politics, like elections, to challenge people to be better. And so when I think about what's happening in Illinois 9, and I fear that throughout the course of this stream, I'm going to age myself so much. Like, I'm an elder millennial who's going to seem like a boomer by the end. But when I think about the history of Illinois 9, which is, like, the house I grew up in is in Illinois 9 now. My parents live in Illinois 9. It was originally in Illinois 10, which we'll talk about later. I thought about what it could mean to have a competitive primary, to have candidates who share values, but also come at politics from different experiences and backgrounds. And that ultimately the people of the district would be better served by having different candidates who could be competitive, who could voice some of these current issues, who could bring to bear their experience and their strengths to better our politics and to better public service.
So incredible points that we all agree with. I just want to stress to people that that Meredith's piece was a huge inspiration for me running. Like,
well, okay, I have to be honest. I don't know if you know this. So when it published, Ben slid into my DMs and he was like, I think my girlfriend's going to run. And I had no idea who that was at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I think that she should. And, you know, one of the reasons I really wanted to be here today was the idea that people could read that or could just feel that sort of energy and to actually like put in the work and to act on it and to be like, this is something that I can do. And I can shift the Overton window on what other people think is serious. Yeah. Because the seriousness that you bring to this race is different than the seriousness that someone might bring to the race, like having been a state legislature or governed. Like, right. Those are all valuable experiences. But when we bring together people in conversation in politics and talk about what they care about, why they care about and actually showcase their skills, I think it makes everybody better.
100%. And like, here's the thing. I don't think you necessarily have to primary someone because they're the worst person in the world. And I actually hope if when we win, I want someone to try to primary me. I think it makes you bring your A game. And right now I think that this race, partly because of the willingness to jump in even before we knew what the race would look like, is now the most competitive House race in the country. We have like 17 candidates. We'll see who's on the ballot on once people submit their petitions on Monday, tomorrow. But it is really important. I think one of the most frustrating things for me. So for those who don't know, Meredith Shiner is a journalist.
I guess I should
introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So,
usually I was like kind of like flustered today because I got here 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, and we just dove in. Like we had a lot of serious stuff to talk about. Okay, so hi, I'm Meredith Shiner. I grew up in Illinois. As I mentioned, I grew up in a house that's now in aisle 9. It used to be in Illinois 10, which during the Iraq War, again, I'm ancient, where Mark Kirk was the representative from that district. That was a formative sort of moment in my politics and my value system, but we'll get back to that. I started in journalism, actually in sports journalism. So I think a lot of the internet that shaped me actually shaped Ben. Like one of my recent favorite podcast interviews was his conversation with David Roth of The Defector, who are like all people who speak my internet language. But I was sports editor of my college paper. And then I was like, okay, do I want to go into sports or do I want to just try my hand at moving to Washington, knowing no one, and see if I can become a political and congressional correspondent?
Yeah.
So I moved to DC in 2009, and my first major story was covering the Affordable Care Act debate for Politico.
Yeah.
And I worked for Politico, Roll Call, and Yahoo News, covering congressional leadership, covering Senate races, covering presidential races. And then in 2016, I was dating my now husband at the time. I did not want to die at a Donald Trump rally. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And we were thinking about where we wanted to move. And I thought that Chicago could be home again because it never really stopped being home. So we moved here in 2016. We've lived here ever since. And I still am a contributing editor of The New Republic, where I write essays on current politics and try to take an inside-outside view of things. And I'm a communications consultant by day to help.
Consultant.
I know, it sucks. Not for political candidates though, just for people who will help me pay the bills, to
Oil,
pay, like mortgage, daycare. We can like talk about how expensive early childhood education is. And I help teach public policy master's students at the University of Chicago. So that's a lot. Cool. It's a lot of multi-hyphenate.
Real quick, we do have people asking. It seems like on Twitch there are lagging issues. We are connected through Ethernet, so I don't know why that is. Is it the same on YouTube?
YouTube is not lagging.
Okay.
So I was gonna say maybe restart the stream.
Like through OBS?
Yeah, through OBS.
Okay, so just stop and then start. Okay, we're gonna stop and start. Please hold. Do I have to stop all, I guess?
I think so.
Okay. Guys, we'll be right back. Okay. Let's see if it lags. No, but like your work at the New Republic has been really great. I think that inside outside look is really important because a lot of people don't realize we do have a direct cable running to the PC. It is going literally through my entire apartment. It is in my closet. It goes behind my bed.
This apartment is actually just like a content creation studio for the most part.
Kind of.
Like you're seeing as someone who's now in the apartment, you're seeing the apartment.
Yeah, this is kind of this is the apartment. But yeah, so the Ethernet cable goes around the entire, we got like 100-foot Ethernet cable. So fingers crossed. But yeah, that inside outside look is really helpful. Like one time when we started these, like one of the things we talked about on these streams is call time, which is something a lot of people don't know exists, that anyone in politics knows exists, which is calling rich people all day, every day to beg for money. And it runs our political system, or the fact that like the reason a lot of
Sorry, I feel like I'm looking at you and not at your audience.
We can stare at both. Okay. We can alternate. Yeah. Just like do it like really like shakily, you know?
Okay.
Make you seem really paranoid the whole time.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm so old.
But a lot of stream time is better than call time. Many are saying this. But like also like people are saying we keep joking that you're gonna have like Hakeem Jeffries playing 2K when he realizes how much money this makes us. By the way, donate capforillinois.com/stream. Asha, send me some donors to shout out in a sec. Is Discord open?
Yes, Discord is not open.
I will open it. But also it's like, you know, the reason that a lot of representatives don't go back to their home district isn't even because it's like necessarily insidious. It's like it's a pain in the ass to fly back to your home state, especially if you're like on the West Coast every single weekend. They're
Well,
like,
also, I think another thing that we don't talk about, because there's such a corrosive view of government and people don't value people who work in government, and Republicans have spent decades trying to like create like toxic vibes around the government, is that it's very hard to maintain 2 residencies in Washington, D.C., which is incredibly expensive.
it's so expensive.
And also in another place. And so when we think about all of the barriers to entry to running to it for elected office, like that's a huge one, right? Because you're maintaining 2 homes. You have to like actually like focus and be in community. And like when you are running for this, like you're not doing other things. This is your full-time job. And so there are all of these different factors that are baked in that sort of shape the government that we have. And it's trite, but like the idea that a budget is a reflection of our values, like what we spend on elected officials, what we pay them, is a reflection of our value of them. And I think that it's too low, which is a controversial take.
No,
but
this is so real. Like, this is so real. And also, I don't know, I've been listening, by the way, but I've been trying to look at this. It says on Twitch that our connection is unstable. It doesn't say that anywhere else. I don't know what to do, but if someone wants to let us know, let us know. But you had to maintain, this is like a huge reason that people who aren't rich aren't able to get into politics. I mean, this has been like so stressful for me financially, although very exciting thing. We did realize one campaign expense was being billed monthly on my debit card, which is why I kept going into low cash mode. And I was like, why is this happening? So like, I'm still not rich, but at least I can, pay rent. We got the refund. It was very exciting. Anyways, between needing to know rich people to call, but also like being able to have 2 homes, being able to go back and forth, even though a lot of that travel is covered, and being able to take the stress and like security, being able to not worry about your kids because they're, I mean, shit's crazy now.
When I filed the story primary every Democrat, there are people who really emailed me being like, I want to work on your Senate campaign. And one of the like hand lines I had is like, the number one reason I would want to run for Senate is, well, he's 5 now, but my 4-year-old, and the one reason I wouldn't is my 4-year-old.
Yes.
Like, everyone wants their kids to have a normal life and present parents, and like being a political kid is not a normal life.
No.
But I want to go back to something that you said initially, which is, okay, this thing exists and it powers our politics and people don't know it or they don't understand it. And, often my essays at the New Republic actually do a lot of criticism of the national media.
Yeah.
And I don't criticize the media or help try to like demystify it because I hate it. I actually think it's essential. Like there's nothing I ever want to do more than be a journalist. And there's nothing I loved doing more than being a journalist.
By the way, when people ask me, what are you going to do after Congress or after the campaign? The answer is keep being a journalist.
Right. Yeah. And people who love it, like you do it because you're curious about other people, because you believe in things, because you want to do a public service. That's at least why I went into it. Not everyone goes into it for that way. But like one of the worst things to happen in media was the like wholesale elimination from our top outlets of public editors and ombudsmen. And people ask me why, right? When Dean Baquet at the New York Times, who was the past top editor, was like, we don't need a public editor anymore. People are complaining about our coverage on Twitter to our reporters. It was such an insult to journalism, because at the end of the day, the vast majority of people don't know how the news is made. They don't know how a reporter works. They don't know what sort of the aims are of a newsroom or who makes decisions. And the idea that you would take away that level of transparency, that function for the public to better understand not just the stories of the day, but how stories get made, was like a fatal blow to journalism in a lot of ways. And so when I think about what you're trying to do with politics or how you're talking about it, I think it's really important for people to actually know some of these behind the scenes things that everyone who's involved in it sort of take for granted as universal knowledge or truths, to unpack the system so people can really understand, like, how do we move forward with a politics or a government that works differently? Because we're not going back to before. Like,
it's not
4 times are
that's
done.
why a lot of people voted in 2020, was they wanted to like go back to before 2020. And that was an understandable instinct, but there's no going back. There's no returning to that. Also, real quick, want to shout out some donors, and you can be one of these donors and also fight for a better future at capitolillinois.com/stream. Timothy C. with our average donation of 32. Andrew C. John K. Nice to see you. Sean C. with a $100 donation. Thank you so much. That goes a far way on a grassroots campaign. Donald A. Good to see you again. And David D. and Danny W. Thank you so much. Like, seriously, I just can't stress enough. I know I seem kind of frazzled, and that's because I ran in literally 2 seconds before we went live. But it's really cool to be able to make a difference with y'all. But like these things that we take for granted, it's also an issue in the journalism community of like having to stress to your coworkers, hey, not everyone is as terminally online as you. Not everyone, like it's not, and it's also not the reverse. It is not, the internet isn't real life, and it's not the real life is the internet. It's somewhere in between now. And just having to stress, you know what? Fuck it. I'll say it now. We're going to be announcing this week, but I am not going to be posting on Twitter anymore. And this was...
I've been Twitter sober since pretty much October 2023, and welcome.
Yeah, we have been prioritizing Blue Sky throughout the campaign. We've been saying this first and foremost about like prioritizing websites that are not actively trying to radicalize people into right-wing propaganda. And Blue Sky is not perfect, but it is hiring more mods. It has a stronger commitment to online safety. It's more transparent, and it's also just more usable. So like we see people with millions of followers, when they post a link to their reporting on Twitter, get a fraction of the link clicks that Blue Sky does, because most platforms, except for Blue Sky in terms of major social media platforms, deboost links because they don't want you to leave the website. And so we've actually raised more on Blue Sky than we have any other social media service. And the DHS posted about me like a month and a half ago after that ICE agent threw me. And I was like, I'm not sure if I want to, like, we've been posting here a lot less than other sites, but I don't know if I want to be here, especially with that scrutiny from a Homeland Security department that is pushing straight up white supremacist propaganda. But then hearing the announcement that Grok, which called itself Mecha Hitler, is going to be running what you're allowed to see.
Also, I just take a 20-second timeout to say
please.
that the average person who's not online, like if you said that sentence out loud, they like
the
vast majority of people in the world will that sentence would be completely
incomprehensible
to them.
Completely inscrutable. And so like I have never given Elon Musk $8, unlike a lot of people running for office and even people of my race. They gave me Twitter verification and I don't want it. I've tried to get them to take it back, and like I have the DMs being like, get this thing off of my account. But even though I'm not actively trying to fund Elon Musk's life, whether it be through Twitter Blue, whether it be through, we don't put any campaign ads on Twitter, we don't pay for any reach, our existence there does indirectly fund him, or directly because you're looking at ads. And we have taken it to this point where we consider Twitter to be the baseline, like the automatic thing that you need for communication, that you need to reach people, because it used to be one of the best places to get on the ground news.
Well, and okay, I want to go back to where I think that your head was when you started articulating this, which is that there are so many political reporters who refuse to quit it,
right?
Who refuse to
That's
make
where
a
I'm
change, where like their ego about how many followers they have is getting in the way of leaving something where they're like marinating their brains in white nationalism, and also not getting the attention for their reporting.
Yeah, and they're good reporting too. I mean, like this is an issue, and so like I realized our presence there is a tacit endorsement of what is happening, and I don't want to be a part of it, and I want to pressure other journalists if they want to follow one of the most exciting campaigns in the country. If they want to learn about what's happening on the ground, they can use literally any other site. I am everywhere. You will have no problem finding me. But if we want change, we have to be a part of it, and even if it means I mean, fundraising on Twitter is so much worse than it is on Blue Sky for us and for a lot of people, a lot of organizations, a lot of nonprofits. There is no reason to be there anymore. We'll be doing an official announcement. But if you want a representative who doesn't want to enrich Elon Musk, CaffreyIllinois.com.
But also
CaffreyIllinois.com/stream.
Yes, and this goes back to sort of your first question about primary every Democrat and what the energy was behind it, which is when Elon Musk was basically shadow running the government, destroying the government, torching the government. Every single Democrat should have left Twitter, elected Democrat with power. Genuinely. Because all of these reporters say they can't leave Twitter because they still have an obligation to follow everyone who is on Twitter. And so, again, when we think about systems versus individuals, any one candidate deciding that they're not going to be on Twitter, good, fine, moral position, but the DCCC saying our candidates won't be on Twitter once all the primaries pan out, or Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer saying we're not going to be on Twitter anymore would have been important because one, it's owned by a person who's actively destroying the government. They're amplifying white nationalism at a time where it's becoming increasingly dangerous, and it doesn't even work.
It doesn't even work.
When I left, when I really stopped using it in 2023, it was because it wasn't doing what I wanted it for me.
Yeah. It just crashes. Most of my DMs are like, do you want to meet sometime? Do you want to be my boyfriend? Do you want to get into my crypto scheme?
Yeah, no thanks. And I think about the internet that was so important to me, and Twitter was really important to me for a long time. I joke that my husband found me on Twitter because I was making baseball jokes and he liked them, and I was like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work anymore, and no one should tell me to use a platform that doesn't work. And I'm old enough where I've lived through a lot of platforms that I love dying. I will never go as hard for any social media platform than I went as hard for Google Reader, which was just a simple RSS feed with all my favorite blogs in 2008. But these things live and they die, and you don't have to be on them forever. And there are people who shape the national discourse who won't quit because they have a bunch of followers and they can't just step away and rebuild.
And just for the record, Twitter, unless you're actively playing into Elon Musk's hand, will remove people from your following list. You can absolutely build that same following on literally any other site. And this isn't to say that Instagram is better and not owned by a billionaire, or it is better, but it's not perfect. It's not great. There are still so many problems with social media across the board, but it is a necessary part of communication. I don't think we need to...
By the way, I don't know why someone is making a Sandlot "You're Killing Me" Smalls joke, but I just saw that someone was dropping lines from the Sandlot, and I wanted to shout them out. So thank you. Well, Leftward Ho.
Great.
Okay.
It's a great name.
Cool.
It's a good name.
Love that movie. All right, continue.
But I don't want it to throughout this campaign, I've been very aware of the platform that I have, and I built it myself with my work. But a huge part of the campaign is creating a permission structure for other people to run for office, to use their resources in a different way, to talk honestly and openly without a consultant approved transcript. Sorry, consultant.
That's fine.
And that counts with this too. I know that other people will be looking at Twitter and being like, well, if she's not there, maybe I don't have to be on there. And it puts pressure on others. It puts pressure going out to Broadview. It puts pressure on our elected officials to come out to Broadview.
Yes.
Doing food drives and backpack drives instead of cocktail hours with the same 20 politicians and donors. That puts pressure on them to do the same.
Well, and God, I have so many things I want to respond to there. I don't even know where to start, but I do think that there is such a corrosive culture of political Washington. And the thing is that I want to separate that from so many hardworking government public servants who are not getting paid right now, who have spent the last year in massive uncertainty, people who have given their lives and their careers to us through their work in the government. I don't want to dismiss that. And so when I talk about some of the corrosive DC culture, I don't want it to be used to vilify people who want to serve us.
It's all people that live in Maryland and Virginia, by the way, the people that were actually vilifying.
who are doing the who are living for that CNN Chiron. Yes. But I say this because there is such an insular social culture there. When I lived there, I didn't really have friends who were Capitol Hill reporters. I was cordial and I did my job, but I didn't like the scene. That wasn't for me. I wanted to have real friends who had jobs that were completely unrelated to what I was doing. I remember one of my closest friends in DC was a public school teacher at the time, and I would go to her annual Halloween party. I was just thinking about this because we're getting close to Halloween.
What are you dressing up as?
Well, you missed this conversation, whereas more important is what is my 5-year-old dressing up?
What's your 5-year-old dressing up as?
So my 5-year-old is dressing up as Lego Batman because Lego Batman is his favorite movie because, as I was telling Asha before we went live, billionaires have never lived with toddlers, it seems. So when David Zaslav made the decision, or someone who worked with him made the decision to pull the Lego movie off of HBO Max, and you couldn't stream it, when you couldn't stream that movie anywhere, this was the one thing that we could stream. So it's it's a spinoff, and it's the Will Arnett Batman character, but he loves it, and he looks so sweet and kind of ridiculous as Lego Batman, and I'm just very excited for that.
What's the difference in terms of dressing up as Batman versus Lego Batman?
I mean, I can show you. Also, I can show you because you literally can't see my son's face in it, so it's perfect because I
Awesome.
don't put his face on the internet. I mean, it's like that.
Oh my god, it's incredible.
Speaking of, I think we just stopped Twitch.
We just stopped Twitch and restarted. All right, y'all. We're gonna.
If there's a way to keep YouTube going, I don't know if there is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you just click stop streaming on the one, and then maybe that, right?
Okay, guys, we'll be right back. We're gonna stop and restart to see if Twitch will work.
Sorry about that. Because
Working on YouTube now? Can you check? Never mind. Everyone's having this issue. It's not just me. Haha. Are we live everywhere?
yes, we're live.
Are we live?
And I'm live on Twitch.
Okay, I see a pause on Twitch, so that must be when we stop. There's a lag. We'll find out. Let me see. Thanks for dealing with tech difficulties. How fun is this? It should be working.
Maybe it's the
But is the YouTube working?
YouTube is great.
Okay, awesome.
YouTube is awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, oh, by the way, if you guys want to see my Halloween costume, you have to come to our blood drive at 7016 North Clark Street in our back lot and eat a hot dog and be a part of a costume contest.
I might just be going as tired, overworked mom who has some like spooky accessories. At this
Oh,
point.
spooky accessories. That's what we really care about.
Just ghost earrings and like a little like headband. Are we live anywhere? Or are we just chatting amongst ourselves?
It just
now?
says there's a.
Do the start streaming big button.
Okay. Fingers crossed. We'll find out.
But you've been live on YouTube.
I've been live on YouTube.
I was just gonna say, like, I think there's such an insular culture in DC, and people want to
Yes.
see you not just like at your job, but also at like all of the like worst bars. You've
So
ever
many
been
happy
to.
hours. So many happy hours.
And that was
I
just
don't
like
go to any
that
of
was
them.
just not my style, and I think that like that part of that culture ended up feeding into this corrosive culture of like this is all a game or we can all be friends at the end of the day, when none of it was ever really based on like values and beliefs. And I think that ends up being deeply problematic.
I remember the first time I went on like a CNN show in studio and was talking. It was like the time when Scott Jennings was like, you think everyone should have healthcare? And I was like, yeah. And then at the end, one of the other panelists was like, we got to leave it all on the field. And I was like, I don't think we do. I think not believing healthcare is a human right is a problem. And I don't want to get drinks with that person after work. I went to college in DC, and during January 6th, I was like, everyone that you hate, like you're terrorizing our city. I was a bartender in DC. Everyone that you hate, referring to the insurrectionists, all those people live in Maryland and Virginia. Like, leave our city alone. This is just a normal city of people functioning just like everywhere else. And it is a nightmare to be a college student dating in DC. Every single person that's even close to the hill.
I think it's a nightmare to be a woman trying to.
It's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. Everything's a nightmare. But
I married the first person I dated who was like normal.
Who was like normal? Yeah.
That was it. Then I'm very happy with that decision, but I don't know that it would have worked out any other way.
To be fair, like Ben and I, it was more because we had like the same illness of covering the right, and so it was like that helped. You either have to have someone that knows nothing about anything or has the exact same
that's
thing.
a really fascinating trauma bond. But like I think to the point that you were making about like January 6th, how it's been covered, how it's talked about, how it was felt in DC.
Oh shoot, we got some can you send me donations?
Yeah, I just didn't know.
Yeah, we got a shout out. Donate at cafeillinois.com/stream. We got exciting announcement when it is in my Discord, but continue.
I think that people forget that like Washington is a city where real people live, and where
This is true.
like extremists filled their streets and attacked the Capitol, and like that's actually like in the middle of the city where they work and live. Like there's this thing about Washington, because we've all seen TV shows or movies, and you see the shots of the mall and they're panning, that like in some way it almost feels like, if you aren't connected to it, like a soundstage version of a city.
Right.
Because there's so many symbols of the things that we were raised to believe about democracy. We see it in all of this content, but like it is a city filled with real people.
Yeah.
A city that is like being pulled to its brink now because people are okay. I'm scooching over.
Our little, hold on, let me fix our wheels.
Oh yeah, our wheels are not aligned in a way that
they just
want
to kiss.
Helpful.
There we go.
There we go. A city full of real people who are just trying to like exist, send their kids to school without worry that like the city's going to be under attack. And you think about the entire ecosystem of the city, and we're seeing this to a degree in Chicago now with all of the randomized terror because of ICE. Like, there are restaurants that are losing business in DC because of the occupation there, because people have been mass laid off, because now there are a bunch of people who furloughed who aren't getting paid. Like,
and furloughs and like government shutdowns affect DC workers really hard. Like everyone, pretty much like half of their friends just don't have any income. I've had friends that had to sell their car. You know,
well, and like circling back to like the like peak Doge era in Washington, I mean, they were just like eliminating workers indiscriminately and in mass. And so like if you didn't lose your job, you were wondering how long you could sustain it and how long you could really sustain living in a place where the government was going away.
And that's not just in DC either. I mean, we've talked with a lot of federal workers in the Federal Workers Union and EPA workers, especially in Chicago, where they've just
people don't know like how big the EPA office
it's
is
huge.
In Chicago.
It's huge.
Like, I think it's one of the second.
And we have like the largest source of fresh water. And every single time I've talked with them, I've just heard this description of like, I fear checking my email. Like it's terrifying to check my email because I don't know if I'll have a job. And that's not a way to live. And
well, and it's not a way to run our government to empower other people to live.
No, and like that's the thing is I don't want the government to be run by a business because guess what? The government isn't a fucking business.
No.
Damn, I can't believe I'm missing the Zoran speech. I'll have to watch it after. But we have our stream time. And Meredith, this is the third time we've had to reschedule you, so I wasn't going to do it again.
I'm here. Okay, but not to counter-program the Zoran Mandami speech with a conversation about him.
Yes, but we're very meta here.
But, you know, as we were talking about competitive primaries, I think of all of the conversations that, like, we've had about that New York race, like, I don't think that we've had a deep enough conversation about how beneficial ranked choice voting ended up being to the people of New York City. And like, if you watch those debates in the primary, like people were talking about issues. People were uniting against a candidate who was corrosive, corrupt, and bad.
Yes.
He didn't know when to quit. Because he doesn't know how to quit.
He doesn't know how to take
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, want to shout out some donors. Kirk M, Benjamin B, Latanya G, and Neil S. Thank you so much for your donations. And thank you to Rex S with a $419.99 donation. I am guessing because he doesn't want us to make the shitty joke. But W Rex in the chat, thank you so much. Zoran.
And so, like, watching those debates and seeing multiple candidates trying to, like, push themselves to be better and clearer and, like, unite against a candidate who is bad, like, that's the benefit of a competitive primary. Like, and that's the benefit to the public of getting to bear witness and participate in a competitive primary.
Absolutely.
Like, Zoran's communication skills are exceptional, and he's run a campaign, I think, that has uplifted joy in a lot of ways, like enjoying the journey, like enjoying the place where you live, like actually liking New York and not falling for like the conservative tropes that like make people think that we hate living in cities when we love living in cities. But at the end of the day, like looking at what happened with him and Brad Lander and some of these other candidates who all had to articulate their positions and move into a way that like made those positions accessible and popular with actual voters, that was important. And that's what I'm guessing you are hoping happens in Illinois 9.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's actually something we tried to do, of getting more candidates involved in like doing things together. We had this pride party where we wanted to I invited the people who were in the race so far to co-host it with us, and then we just didn't hear back. But I thought that would have been fun. We're all supposed to be on the same team, you know? And then I was glad when some of them joined me at Broadview, but that's kind of trickled down. But I think that that's part of I would really like to see more collaboration. We're supposed to be on the same team. The idea is not, in an ideal world, it's like we all want to help everyone, but in a different way. And I wish we saw more of that in more coalition building. I was really inspired by the coalition building by progressives in New York, and especially by Brad Lander. It's sick to see, and that's the future we could have.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like, I want to go back to some of the things that really got me interested in politics and inspired in politics. And you know, like I came of age like in the George W. Bush Iraq War era. Like if for the elder millennials who are watching and also listen to the Las Culturistas podcast, because they're the exact same age as me, what was the culture that made you believe that culture was for you? Like, I think one of my big answers in like an eclectic range of answers was the 2000 election, and being in 8th grade and fighting the token Republican in social studies class every day about whether or not we should actually proceed with a full recount or we should have the Supreme Court decide in a presidential election.
Right.
Turns out in the grand scale of history, it was maybe the most important election in my lifetime because I wasn't alive in 1980 when Ronald Reagan was elected. But I bring this up because like I got really motivated and inspired in that time. I just missed the cutoff for voting in my first presidential in 2004. And when I left the state to go to college, I came back the summer after my freshman year, and I worked on a congressional campaign in Illinois 10 because that was my district at the time. And like I walked in the door, and it was one of the most formative experiences of my life because, you know, I think so many people, because of like how our cultural ecosystem works, they get really inspired or engaged by a presidential campaign. There's like a celebrity factor to it.
Yeah.
But I think when you work on a congressional campaign or you volunteer on a congressional campaign and you feel connected to like your neighborhood and community in a way, like it changes the way that you engage with politics and how you care about it. And it was wild too because, you know, I was 19 and I walked in and I was volunteering. Again, I'm so old. The first day I walked in was when the like representatives from NGP van were going to train for the first time people how to use this is like a content management system for like all these
this is like what you do when you're like door knocking.
So I was like they're like, you look like you know how to use a computer, like you get trained. And so I was building walk sheets.
You look like you need to
you're like you're young enough to operate a computer. So I was building walk sheets and I was like going door to door and I was showing up parades like you're probably showing up at parades. And you know, there was a candidate who at that time was 35, who I still like know and love, this guy Dan Seals. This was the first time he ran for that seat, and people thought he was too young. But what I saw was someone who had young kids, who like understood what families face when they're trying to just live their lives, and who was able to like speak and connect with people in a way that was important. And you know, like one of the people who would volunteer all the time in that campaign office was Dan Biss. And he's like a person who like has been around politics for a long time, and that is one pathway to a candidacy. But like there are multiple pathways, and people with different experiences should be engaging in a process that hopefully illuminates to people like what this party should stand for and what it needs to fight for, and articulates a way forward to confront like the existential threat that we are living in right now.
That's the goal, you know. It's almost like you're an essayist or something. You're really good at talking and consolidating points together. I think like the way that I phrase it, because a lot of people just want to make this about ICE, or not about someone. I read ICE in the chat. Want to make it just about age. This should be about ICE. A lot of this should be about ICE, but about age. And I don't necessarily think that it's just age. And I think that, you know, Congress shouldn't just be 26-year-old journalists. It also shouldn't just be 60, 70-year-old career politicians and lawyers. We have a very diverse country, and we need a diversity of backgrounds, a diversity of ways that you got into politics. We need labor leaders, we need scientists, we need teachers, we need doctors, we need a variety of people in Congress, in the way that our system is set up, and the way that not just our economic system, but the culture in political parties is set up, means that we don't get that.
I want to say that to me, CEO of Primary Every Democrat Enterprises, it's not about age in so much as that it's about entitlement. And I think for a long time, people felt they were entitled to keep these seats as long as they wanted them. They felt like if they checked the particular boxes, they were entitled to be a nominee from a district. They were entitled to be the kind of person who gets connected to like the one big fundraiser in Illinois, who manages your call time and brings together people. And the thing is like these seats, these buildings. I think a lot about the White House being demolished this week, and the visual of that, the metaphor of that, like that house belonged to us. These seats belong to us, and no one is entitled to them, and you should have to work and you should have to hustle, and you should have to say what it is that you want to do with the privilege of serving us.
That's the thing, is this elections are when you get hired or fired. I think we both demonize and lionize politicians too much, and they're not action figures. They are people, and they have asked for this job. They have asked hundreds of thousands of people to vote for them. And I got really frustrated over the past few years hearing like vote blue no matter who. And this isn't because I think you should vote red. This is because it gives our leaders a sense that they don't have to do anything, because that they'll, if they get criticized, people will come after them. If they are held accountable for what they should be doing as a representative, that won't happen. They can just keep doing whatever they want, and they can count on the votes to come. And that is the way the right acts. That is how the Republican Party acts. No matter what Donald Trump does, people will vote for him. We are better, and not necessarily in the when they go low, we go high way, but in the way that we want to hold our leaders accountable. If you are taking money from organizations like AIPAC, which funnel money from Republicans into both it's a Republican fund in both Republican and Democratic primaries. I mean, candidates and elected officials that deny the 2020 election are also funded by AIPAC. We should hold our leaders accountable.
AIPAC. So I'm such a nerd that when you first had talked about like AIPAC getting in Illinois 9, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna look at the most recent disclosures. And one of the things I saw in Illinois was that AIPAC in this past filing, it showed that they gave to Mary Miller, someone who like on January 6th was like extolling Hitler and was like truly a Nazi, and AIPAC is giving money to that person. And so if you are taking money from AIPAC, you should think about the kinds of people they're also giving to, and like what that actually means, and whether that actually aligns with your values.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I've seen someone commenting in a bunch of different ways trying to ask why I'm running in the 9th district, so I'll just answer. As many of you know, I live in Rogers Park, which is in the 9th district. When I first launched this campaign, we were actively looking for a place to live in Rogers Park or Andersonville, but housing is really hard to find lately. We literally lived a bus stop away from the borders of this very normal shaped district. Look up Illinois 9th district. But yeah, we live in Rogers Park. The campaign office is at Clark and Lunt, and we're running here because it's where I want to live for the foreseeable future. It's a great place to live.
Well, and you know, I think a thing that's really interesting about how you're running your campaign is this idea that like you can run a campaign office that is also like a center for volunteerism, or to get people actively involved in their community. Like thinking back to like my time volunteering on a congressional campaign back when I was a young person, I just think about what it means to actually engage in a community and care about a community. And like I've thought about this so much since this last election. Because I've never cared more specifically about the neighborhood I live in and the people who make it up. And I was thinking about your ad and watched your ad before coming here tonight. And I think that it's important because it shows very true, very horrific, and very violent images of what is happening, like as a result of our federal government being incredibly committed to terrorizing our communities. Because at the end of the day, people got very brain broken, and like they're watching Fox News and they think that any city that has diversity must be horrible, corrupt, violent, dangerous, when it couldn't be further from the truth. And
I have never felt more safe as an adult living in a big city than I do like in any other like place that doesn't have public transit. Like when I visit my extended family in Dallas, I get catcalled if I try to walk anywhere. It's also impossible to walk anywhere in Dallas. I have not been catcalled in like 3 years in a major city, which has been a cultural shift for sure. But also it's because people are around. They hold each other accountable. They support each other. We have patrols going around Rogers Park with whistles.
So this is what I really wanted to say, which is that I think that your ad is important, and for people who haven't been confronting those images or that reality, it's important to see. But every time I see a new video of an ICE encounter in Chicago, the thing that stands out most to me as someone who loves this city and loves our neighbors is to hear all of the whistles in every video, to see all of the people who are stepping in. Like, that is the thing that I want people to know, is that they're everyday people. Like, the image of you getting thrown down at Broadview is going to be, regardless of the outcome of this election, I think one of the indelible images of this election cycle. And I think there are a lot of people who probably look at that and they're like, well, I wouldn't have the courage to do that, or I couldn't do that, or I can't get to Broadview. When at the end of the day, like what we're seeing on these like neighborhood blocks, and it doesn't matter if it's Logan or Little Village or Lakeview or Belmont Cragen, any of these places, like you are seeing neighbors who are showing up. Like, I carry a whistle in my purse all the time now. Like, I hope I never have to use it.
Get a whistle. And if you
Get
need
a
one, come
whistle.
to the campaign office and get one. You can do this at the blood drive.
And that's what you hear in every video. And you see neighbors stepping up because we know that this is wrong and we think this is wrong. And that's the other side of the video that I think is really important. And that's also what shows the story of like what makes our communities, the power of community organizing, and the power of putting people first and being willing to do just a little bit to make sure that we're keeping our neighbors safe.
100%. I don't want to keep you all night, but I did see someone in the chat before you go ask where you got your shirt.
Oh, okay. So this is from Raygun, and
Which does our merch, by the way.
Yeah, so I love Raygun, and also I will say that, like, sort of to the point of ICE and people in Chicago, and what I think the national media is really missing, and what our congressional leadership is really missing, is that people who live here are mad. Like, there's a reason.
So mad. We're
Like,
so fucking
the thing
pissed
is
off.
like there is a reason why Chicago's No Kings protest was the largest, is because we are seeing what this looks like.
You fucked
and
with the wrong
we
city.
Hate it. And so like I was telling Asha, I wore this to, and when you walked in, I wore this to my son's little kickers practice a few weeks ago, and I had no fewer than like a half dozen moms come up to me and be like, I love your shirt, where did you get it? And these are people who probably like had never encountered the idea of abolishing ICE, might not even have before this known what ICE was or what it had done in other circumstances.